In theaters this weekend is a brand new film about standing up for what you believe in. And in the day and age that we live in now, our rights, especially as believers, are being attacked. This new film is called Average Joe, and it looks at a real life hero in his fight for something simple that we all do as Christians each and every day, and that's pray. Joining me is real life inspiration behind this new film, Coach Joe Kennedy. Coach, how are you doing today, man?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Jay. This is awesome.
Well, I'm glad to have you here. And as I pointed out in the pre-interview, I noticed you had the Woodlawn poster behind you. That another great film. And Christian films have come a long way over the years, man. It was good to see this film. My wife and I got a chance to see a screening for it, and it was not only a great film, but there's a lot of comedy to it. I really enjoyed the comedic aspect of some parts, and my wife's like, this guy's pretty funny. I mean, he's got a pretty good sense of humor, especially for a Marine.
Yeah, well, things have definitely changed over the years. I went from an angry kid, and you know the way Marines are, a little brash, but it's amazing what God could do and turn people around and soften some areas. And now, after you've been through everything that the world could throw at you, you just got to kind of laugh sometimes, and you have to have a good time, or you drive yourself insane.
That's right. Well, Average Joe is the name of this film. It's in theaters this weekend, and many people may be curious, Coach, what is this new film about?
Wow, it pretty much covers my the story of just an average guy like me that has been through quite a bit in his life. It shows from when I was a little kid and all the trouble I got into and unwanted, going through the Marine Corps. So it shows all the battles that everybody seems to go through as they grow up. Everybody's got a story that I think they could relate to this, but it shows really, I think it's a great love story between the love of my wife, my love of my country, and the love of our God. And we really wanted to show people that you can make it through anything, and you're never being held back by your past. You can always drive forward, and really just want to inspire people. So I think it pretty much covers, like you said, we want it to be light enough, but have its moments that shows the nitty gritty about life, the real life that we all live in, not some Hollywood made up story.
Amen. Well, in this film, you and your wife have to deal with something, quite, hard, something you wouldn't really think that you'd have to deal with. You being a Christian, being able to pray openly in public and stuff like that. It was something that came under scrutiny with you many years ago. Something that you had to take action up to the Supreme Court, and it's crazy that these kind of things even happen in society today. And it's really I'm just happy that you stood up for what you believe in. And the actors in this film, you have actors Eric Close and Amy Acker who portray you and your wife Denise. I love both of these actors because they were both in two of my favorite TV shows. Eric Close was in Without a Trace back in the day, one of my favorite shows, and then Amy Acker was in Person of Interest with Jim Caviezel. And these two portray you and your wife Denise in the film. What was it like working with these two actors and so many other great actors and film crew to bring this story to life?
Yeah, first off, Harold Kronk is the one who directed it, and we touched base, and he let me know who he was picking to play these roles and what he wanted it to look like. So we were very involved with the screenplay and the development of the actual story. So that was really wonderful that we had our input on that, because we really wanted it to be true, and Harold Kronk really wanted it to be true to life. He didn't want to Hollywoodize a bunch of stuff. Then when went on set and we had our first meeting with, I met with Eric during lunch, and it was funny because within probably 15 minutes he goes, "I think I got you pretty much figured out, Coach," because I'm the simplest guy in the world to, I mean, portray, because you can, I'm a blank sheet. You can do whatever you want with it. But Amy just was incredible. She spent hours with my wife, and when they would act out a scene, she would say, "Denise, how was that?" And they would talk about, and even before they went on, she would sit there and what kind of emotions were you feeling? They sat there and laughed and they cried. even before they even got on the set. So it was wonderful. And it was fun to watch Eric and then poke at him as soon as he got off the screen. And I mean, it was the weirdest thing in the world to see people portraying you in a movie and acting out your life in front of you. It was weird and cool at the same time.
Yeah, and I know Harold did I believe it was the first God's Not Dead movie, which is the fifth one came out last month, In God We Trust, and it's has been a successful film series. But a lot of the time when you do a real life story, when you do a movie that's based on real life, there are movies that have taken a lot of creative liberties as far as the story goes. But with you guys, how important was it that the accuracy of this story was portrayed with Average Joe? I mean, was that something that you felt that they did a good job with this movie?
I think they did a phenomenal job. We actually had to tone it down a bunch, and it was there was some probably strong PG stuff in it that was real life things. So we went through everything together on the set with the script, with the actors, and Harold, and they were so wonderful at staying true to it. They took one or two little liberties that in the film, which were not that big of a deal, and you never notice it. But overall, I'd say probably 98, 99% of it was absolutely true, on point, and actually kind of tempered down because life is so crazy you can't show everything there is. But
Yeah.
man, it was really important to us and the film crew when they did it.
Yeah, well, like you, my wife Shannon is a veteran of the U.S. Marines. She's
Hoorah.
served 11.5 years, and she very much enjoyed the film and thought that you were, like I said, you were portrayed as being a funny guy with a great sense of humor. I mean, we're watching this film, and I'm asking her questions. I'm like, okay, is that for real? Like the boot camp scene and everything. We're watching that. I'm like, wow. I said, did you go through that in boot camp? She's like, yep. She's like, that's a part of training in the Marine Corps. And the conversation went on to like, I'd asked her, I'm like, well, what made you choose the Marines over the Army, over the Navy, over the, Air Force and stuff like that? She's like, because I wanted to be a part of the best. The Marines
Yeah.
are the best of the best, is what she told me. And I think your character actually says that in the film. It said, I want to be a Marine because I wanted to be a part of the best.
Yeah, Austin Woods is the one who played me as a Marine, and it was him and I have a great relationship. We text each other all the time, and he's just a fun guy. And it was so fun to sit down with him and try to teach him how to be a Marine within hours. And there's you always pick out a couple little things like, oh, he didn't take the magazine out of the rifle right there. But it was fun to be on the set, especially during the battle scenes, and teach him how to put on a gas mask and how to aim a weapon correctly. And oh, it was just phenomenal. They did so good, and we really wanted to capture the Marine Corps spirit of that, and in a way that really shows the fight that you go through just to become a Marine. And it builds up from a kid to the Marine to coaching and how it all plays together.
Yeah. Well, her rank when she left the military, she was a gunnery sergeant, and she told me that she's able to look at a uniform and be able to tell somebody's rank. And at the end of the movie, they show a picture of you in real life at the Marine Ball, and she's like, "Oh wow, he's a gunnery sergeant." I'm like, you can tell that by looking at the uniform. I just thought that was really cool. And the film actually goes into the Supreme Court ruling that later came out for this, and I thought that was really cool. And Willie Robertson from Duck Dynasty like had a little tidbit on that. But since the Supreme Court ruling came down for this with your case, have you seen any kind of changes around the country, in response to this?
Well, one of the big ones I saw was Louisiana. They instantly, and I think it was Texas and maybe Arkansas. They all dropped a bunch of laws, or I don't even know what they call it in their world. But religious liberty groups have been paying attention to this case, trying to get that Lemon case overturned, which has burdened them for the past 50 years. So I didn't know any of this, and when the Supreme Court ruled on it, instantly people started dropping their papers to get things reinstated, like the Ten Commandments in public places, crosses that were knocked down that are brought back in. They're even bringing the Ten Commandments back into classrooms. So it's amazing to see that God is working, and he had something in plan for all of this. And I just think more people, hopefully, when they see the movie, they'll be inspired to be able to stand up and realize that we need to exercise those rights as Americans, and that we have more religious freedom now than we've had in the past 50 years, which is we've been programmed that, oh, there's a separation of church and state. Well, we knocked down that barrier in the way that we've been trained to think of it. Instead of thinking that the government can't infringe on us, they always try to blur that and say the church can't be in part of the state. So we really straightened out, the Supreme Court straightened that out, and I'm seeing great things happen all across the country.
That's amazing. Well, fighting for the rights of everyone, regardless of what they believe in, I think is very important. And this movie really touches on that. And one thing I wanted to ask is that one group of people that sometimes can often be forgotten, especially with the way our government can be sometimes, is our veterans. There are a lot of veterans that are not being taken care of. And me, I'm not a veteran myself, but being married to a woman who served 11 and a half years, and for you and stuff, I know that uh, there's a lot of things that we can do with the VA system to fix all this stuff. But is there any kind of veteran outreach programs that you are a part of, or that support and want people to look into supporting?
There's so many of them. Instantly, when I got out of the Marine Corps, I joined the American Legion and the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign Wars. And that was an automatic. Then I started getting involved with disabled American veterans. And there's so many groups out there that we need to use these programs because there's so many of them. I need to get more involved with them. I feel like I've actually missed a lot of that my outreach has gone to so much in the public sector that I have forgotten of how important it is, how many people that service members we lose every day to suicide and the homelessness. I mean, it's an endless thing. So I'm hoping that we could bring light to veterans also and start actually exercising our rights to help those people out that are in the most need.
Amen. Well, last question, jumping back to Average Joe. When people go to theaters to see this weekend, obviously filmmakers, actors, anybody involved with the film want people to take away something from it. For you personally, with you and Denise, what do you guys want people to take away from this film the most when they go to theaters to see it this weekend?
Well, there's probably three big ones, and that's the power of a praying wife and the relationship that you have with God, and that you can make it through the worst of times together if God is the center of your life. We really want to show what a marriage really looks like when you put God first, even though it's ugly at times. We also, as far as understanding what our rights are as Americans, that we need to exercise these rights and liberties. And also that if God could use a guy that's like me, imagine what he could do when other people stand up and God uses them. I want
Mm.
people to walk out of there inspired, going, man, that guy could do this. I could do this. And they're ready to take on the world. And hopefully that our country really starts turning around, especially with all the good movies that are coming out. And they're some of them are really good quality, and I want people to enjoy it and put more emphasis on good films instead of just the garbage you see coming out of Hollywood 24/7.
Amen. Well, we enjoyed it. We love seeing it, and we encourage people to go see it this weekend. Coach Kennedy, thank you so much for joining us today. I greatly appreciate it. And I'm praying that the Lord can do big things with this and just continues working in your life and everything that you have going on. But thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Average Joe is in theaters now, and we encourage you to make plans to go see it this weekend. It's a movie you certainly don't want to miss. Coach Kennedy, thank you so much.
I appreciate you, brother. Tell your wife some.